let's start with this though. It's just like, it's heartbreaking, and it's strange to think that it's already been this many years since the anniversary of that tragedy, right?
Yeah.
And I know that it impacted not just the world and the hockey community, but you as well, because you've been on those buses. Just when you think back to that, what pops into your mind?
To just that time when everything happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just stunned. I think that so many of us can relate. Any family that's involved in hockey can relate to so many great memories of being on teams and the experiences and the road trips and being on the bus. And I think for something tragic like that to happen, it's something that becomes so routine, or something we take for granted. Growing up playing hockey, I think it just stunned me. And I think immediately you're sad, and then your next thought is, how can we help? What can I do to help? And I think that's typically how the hockey community reacts when things like that happen.
One of the things that's happened since then is so much focus on Coach Hogan's core covenant, right? And how important it is, not just with the kind of skilled player you draft, or you bring into your team, but just every aspect of a franchise, and how important it is to have these kinds of, and not the let's just talk about values and not really implement them, but actually have values and live by them, and how important that is in every aspect of life, and specifically in hockey.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you think about sports, that's what sports allows you to learn, are those values. And specific to hockey, because that's something that I played and learned through and developed through. But I think whatever it is for anybody, I think that those values, regardless of what you do or what your passion is, I think if you live by those, you're going to be successful, and you're going to be a good person. So I love that, and I think obviously sport is a tool, and it's something you can use to learn, but those values are so important, and they go with it.
But they're easier to talk about than they are to implement, aren't they?
Definitely. I mean, you're challenged, and you have decisions, and every day, I think, to be reminded of that, to see it on the wall, or to be reminded of that is really important in different situations. So if you can check a lot of those boxes, you're doing something right.
How do you change the culture of a room? And I mean, I know it's impossible for one team to change the culture of a sport, but how do you do that in a room? Because you've seen this in the world, as the world's opening up their eyes, and all kinds of franchises have shown stuff that's happened. It's like, how do you do that and make a team a better place and a safer place to be?
Well, I think it's strength in numbers. I think when you talk about any type of leadership, it's got to come from a group, but it obviously starts with one person, and then hopefully, I think good examples and consistency, and as far as what you're preaching. I think that with time, that's something that develops. It becomes a habit and becomes understood. So it's something that doesn't happen overnight. You need patience, but it really takes a group, and it takes everybody understanding the importance and believing in it. And I think patience ultimately, because it's something that needs to be learned and consistent in order to really make a difference, I think.
I find the best teams, and you know this better than anybody because you've led them, is the word you hear an awful lot about as it relates to skill on the ice and the play, is accountability. And if you're accountable to each other, and I suppose that has to extend to who you are as a group of people as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think, whether you're a professional athlete, or, you're an athlete representing your hometown in a tournament, whatever it is, I think that you understand that, you have a responsibility to represent your town, or represent your team or your organization. You also have an opportunity to compete and do something you love. So I think just, understanding that is really important. And, if everybody has that in mind and keeps that mentality, I think, you're looking at it the right way, and you can definitely make a difference.
And I think, if we circle back to the Humboldt thing and the core covenant, just how important it is to have mentors around you, not just to be on the ice, but just how to handle the pressures. We're seeing lots of athletes now And I'm grateful for the fact that they feel comfortable enough to talk about how, their mental health struggles are really hard these days. And so they've got to approach it differently than you would have when you were allowed to, when you first started. Man, when you had injuries and you had serious injuries, people were questioning your character because you were hurt, right?
Right.
Versus where we are now. And I just wondered when you had this shift, or what it was like, this shift to becoming a mentor, and who might have maybe mentored you through some of that harder emotional stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I feel like even at a young age, I felt like I put the pressure on myself to be a bit of that just because I was a captain at a young age. And I probably put a little bit more pressure on myself to kind of step out of my comfort zone when it came to that. And it's not the easiest thing because, I was a younger player and, a lot of the guys that I'd be talking to are older than me. So I think it came in the form of just asking questions for me, trying to learn and take others' experiences and see how I could apply that. But I think it helps when you have the support of those around you, because I feel like you look at it as approaching it as a group. It's not necessarily you have to figure this all on your own. It's something that comes from the group. So I think that helps. But the more you can communicate that and ask questions and make it more about the group, I always felt like that took the pressure off me. And I look at the concussion and the more I asked people, the more I was upfront with my teammates, and they understood what was happening. It wasn't like I was just shouldering all this burden of being hurt. It's like, okay, these guys know what I'm going through. They understand a little bit more now. It's not like I just disappear for a day or two and they don't know why. So yeah, I think that communication helps and goes a long way. And once you do that, you're in it as a group and you can help each other.
And you go to the ice and you got a lot of people rooting for you. And I know a lot of members of the Humboldt Broncos family as well, because you were certainly there for them. So I suppose when you take to the ice, you're not just playing for yourself and your team, but there are a lot of people who care about your result, I suppose.
No, I appreciate that. Obviously, they're in our thoughts and prayers too. And I think, I don't think my sticks left the front porch in 4 years. It's still there. So,
Right.
Obviously always thinking about them. And, I'm not surprised the way the hockey community has come together and tried to be there and support them. And hopefully that's continuing to this day.
For sure. Good to see you, man. I'll be following along.
Appreciate it. Good seeing you too.